He always just attacking when defending.
I think it's like.
Are we live? People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in each and every time. Please make sure you're subscribing. And also, if you're not going to do that or do it anyways, please make sure you hit the like button, people. It really helps the engagement levels. Now, I apologize for the delay in this, people. I know I've been slacking, but I'm a one-man band. Obviously, I like to take note of how our young players away from Arsenal Football Club are doing. Now, personally, I'm not one of those people who draw conclusions from how they're necessarily doing. First things first, I like to see them outside their comfort zone. I do believe past a point, under 23s football, academy football is very nice. It's very coddled. You know, you might get the occasional game where you're out of your comfort zone, but generally you're not doing much. So if you're out of your comfort zone, whether these lone players are thriving or kind of struggling, you're half the way there. You're in it. You can't have success without failure. You know, without failure, you can't have success. Without success, you have to, you know, they go hand in hand, everything, and football's the same. And I do think, you know, you've got to go through these trials and tribulations. And I'm happy to see people go out on loan where Arsenal's concerned, because I don't think we have had the best of cases where that's concerned historically. Obviously, you know, some are having success better than others, but again, we support them all the way. And again, things can change like that, really and truly. So yeah, first things first, they're out of their comfort zone. Second of all, you know, it shows for me they're seeing what football's really about. You need to get 3 points. You know, as much as these guys might be talented young players to us, the teams that they're at temporarily, they don't care about that. Can you help them right now, whether that's staying in the league, winning the league, whatever the goals or collective goals are? And that's how ruthless football is, really and truly. And also for me, I think it's easier if you was to look, let's say next August when it will be preseason again, and they was to look at themselves prior from last season. You've seen dramatic progress. Sometimes I think under 23s can give you a false sense of where you actually are in football. So if I share my screen with you, lot, you know me, I love a good old Google tab page. Let me zoom in a tiny bit. William Saliba. Now I'll scroll all the way down without not that far. Where PSG is concerned, where is it? There it is. Obviously 0-0. VAR was in action for both sides. He had a good game. He's, you know, the very fact that you've left the football match with Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, and these sort of players on the football field and not been destroyed, not have any clips, he's done it to better players, you know. It was a good collective outfit from Marseille as well as PSG. PSG struggling under Pochettino, really. But it was a good collective effort from Marseille, and they should feel equally they could have won the game. So man to a man, there was credibility. I do think, you know, people are getting a bit too excited with the performance. For me, like you can see there, he bossed it. One thing I like about Saliba is he bossed it. He's a big game player. He's a big character. He's got big temperament. He doesn't get phased, and he seems to thrive on pressure. You know, big games, I've never seen him switched off so far. If anything, as I've seen of him go out on loan, whether that's back to Saint Etienne, at Nice, or here, you know, he's kind of struggled in the smaller quote unquote games. And I think people will just see that fantastic tackle on Mbappe. You know, it's highlight worthy. Saliba said that's the best game of his career. But people need to look at the whole 90 minutes. And obviously, if you watch the whole 90 minutes, it weren't no Fabio Cannavaro thing. He had a good game, definitely an 8, maybe 9 out of 10, you know, near enough a great performance. You know, the things he needs to improve on, I say it every time when speaking about him, are things that you attribute to his age. For someone who's 6'4", and if you're going to be a centre-half, you need to be able to head, and he can. But there's a couple of times he switches off, and there was one where he's presented it to the path of Messi. Messi's drew a big save. Sometimes I feel he's not necessarily aware at times, not in this game, but generally, of when he's playing people on side positionally and things. These are just areas to improve. I think his marking, his positioning, and all these things that I think are in question. Well, but he bossed it against PSG. Obviously, I'm only going to really focus on Saliba because as much as I love the game from a neutral point of view, I just want to see what our players are. I think he was, you know, when he needed to be, he's very casual with it. He had big temperament. He's a big game player. He backs himself in every duel. He didn't get drawn out into wide areas unnecessarily. And when he did, he marked the space well. He covered well. He had a good game. You know, you don't dive in versus good players. And I think he took heed of that, not to dive in, to respect these players. Sometimes a big art of defending isn't always winning the ball, people. Sometimes you need to respect great players and they go past you, but you've got to usher them in a sort of way that it might not be a threat on goal. And again, not just him, but but I think in that game he was decent. I do think there's been shaky moments in certain games as well. You know, again against Lorient, again it had nothing to do with the goal really. It was more the Guendouzi show, who's going to be joining on a permanent basis to Marseille at the end of the season. I would say just be aware of when he's playing people on side would be the only thing I could say of note within the Lorient game. Against Lille, could have done a lot better. I don't think he was good enough for Jonathan Davis's goal. You know, I can't remember the exact game, but there's been a game in recent weeks, I don't think I've covered it, where his pass has actually led to Marseille conceding a pen. I did feel in the Lille game he wasn't good enough for Jonathan Davis's goal. I do think at times he was ball watching and swiping at it, and at times he can be a frequent offender of that. I feel in the again, I'm looking at him just like Galatasaray. There was a couple of nervy moments, but again, I'm looking at Saliba with a degree of scrutiny because I want the guy to do well, and he's, you know, I'm only watching him so I can see him improve. I think he had a baggy first touch, which led to a Lille chance as well. Sometimes I think he needs to look over his shoulder. The things that I say all the time. That being said, in the 42nd minute, he did produce a great slide tackle to deny Yilmaz from shooting. I say dent there, as you can see, these notes were being done in real time. So yeah, as we know with Saliba, we just want him to return a more competent player, a more confident player, and he's not going to return the finished article at 21. But there's a bag of potential in that guy, and for me, I want to see him go and disrupt Ben White's and Gabriel's partnership. As an Arsenal fan, I want the best of both worlds. I want Gabriel and Ben White to, you know, become a blossoming partnership, you know, to look like one that is going to be for a decade. Then I want Saliba to come and where Arteta thinks he solved everything, go and give the manager a headache. Does he revert to a back three? Can we have the scope to play a back three? Should it be Gabriel and Saliba, or Saliba and Ben White, or should it stay the others? Because obviously he's probably going to return being third choice, but that was to be expected. As I said, another season under the belt, playing in Europe, playing under Sao Paulo, all of these things. Go and break into Arsenal next season, like what Smith Rowe kind of did after his Huddersfield loan. He'll get his chance. So yeah, man, you know, at 21 years of age, you know, the potential's as far as it can be for Saliba. He's got a bag of potential. Again, I don't want to focus on people who don't have a future at the club, but Guendouzi, Saliba's teammate, seems to be doing all right. Had a good game against Lorient. Now, Miguel Azeez, again, I'm in two minds because a part of me feels Arsenal do need to probably revisit this loan spell in January. Do you recall him? I don't know if the current dynamic at the time, I don't know if the dynamic at the time right now would be to play certain young players in the middle of the park. I don't know what January is saying. I know there's AFCON, I know there's injuries and whatnot, but will he get the game time he needs? Clearly, I don't want to say, like, so from that point of view, I would say, you know, recall him, let's send him somewhere else. You know, I don't know why it hasn't happened for him. I know there's been injuries and, you know, Portsmouth aren't at the best of form right now. And again, as much as from a selfish point of view, we would like Miguel Azeez to get minutes, we have to recognize Portsmouth are not having the best of seasons. There's people fighting for careers and whatnot. You can't always just play young players, and they have to prove on the training field why they should. And someone like Dan Crowley, to be fair to him, he did play Smith Rowe. There's got to be a reason. As I've said, I feel Miguel Azeez in the middle of the park, fantastic cultured individual. Everything you look for in an Arsenal midfielder, big opportunity to break through, and I think he will get his chances. But in terms of playing first team regular football for Arsenal, he's a long way away. He's very naive on the ball. His biggest strength for me is that he's his temperament. Sometimes he can be dispossessed defensively. There needs to be an improvement. You know, again, this is not criticism of Miguel Azeez. This is just something, a common theme you see in these young players. You know, the best midfielders do things in less touches. Can you do things in 2 touches? Does it need to be 3? And you need to prove this, prove why. And you're still kind of waiting for him to step it up a bit. Like the ability is there, but really grab games by the scruff of its neck or really have a long-lasting impression. And I feel he's got it in his locker, but it ain't worked, you know. So from that point of view, I would like to recall him. Can he get chances here? Can we revisit the situation and see if he can go elsewhere? But on another hand, you know, generally, you know, if we just look at it on minutes of currency, he's being starved of it, innit? He's in the minus, but he's probably learned a lot more about football, about how real football is, about how quickly things can be thrown away, how real football is, and probably learned a lot about himself. I'm not going to say he's never been out of his comfort zone, but he finds himself, you know, if I just look at it on a lazy one, he's in London, at Arsenal, in the bubble where everything's great. Not to say Portsmouth haven't got good stuff, but you're at Portsmouth. No one really cares that you're this talented young player with all the potential. They hear Arsenal midfielder. You know, Portsmouth fans probably think of what Wenger used to bring to the table. Can you do it? Can you help them in whatever they're doing? So there's got to be a reason as to why he is or isn't playing. So on one hand, I think you would have learned he learned a lot more about himself in that sequence than he might have ever done if he stayed. But we've got a, it looked like a match made in heaven. He's only made one. Again, there's been injuries. He's only made one appearance since August. It felt like a match made in heaven in that, Dan Crowley was going to take him, do his thing. Again, from now till January, when it can be recalled, is a very long time. And if he starts playing football, fair play. But right now, it's not looking good. Minutes are currency, and the player has to show the gaffer that he deserves to play. We need to ask ourselves, why isn't he playing? Why doesn't he feel comfortable? Is it the same old thing in that managers, when their backs are against the wall, they tend to go for more experienced players? Is he doing enough? I don't know. Are other young players playing potentially at Portsmouth? He's been on the bench on occasion as well, people, but it's just not, he's not really doing much. I can't really comment on what he's bringing to the football field. But when you look at certain things online and just try to piece together certain things, the manager of Portsmouth is kind of urging caution, people. It was nice to see Miguel Azeez play for England at under 20 level, come off the bench in one game, I believe, started the other, doing his thing. Pardon me. Again, maybe this kind of answers our question, people. Dan Crowley, when asked, firstly, he said it's a desire to identify the right time for his first team participation, which has led to the youngster being used sparingly in a struggling team. And again, the team is struggling. Now, on one hand, when the team is struggling, as an Arsenal fan, you see other people giving a chance. But sometimes you see managers, they might not take a risk on a Miguel Azeez, who might drop a 2 out of 10, look out of his depth as a young player, but he might win the game. He might dribble past 3 man and score goals, or do a blistering pass. You might get a 10 out of 10. The manager, at this point where there's obviously pressure on his job, he might, instead of doing that and gambling, he might stick to a player who he might not be amazing. His form probably warrants being dropped, but he might give you might know minimum he's dropping a 5, And as a manager, if you're holding on to your job and you're saying, boy, next 4 games, if this guy can drop me 2 5s, there's an element of consistency where Miguel Azeez might win me 2 games. He might, by the same topic, any youngster might lose the ball in the middle of the park, might have a 10, then a 2, then a 7, then a 9. And you should take the risk. But I'm not saying I disagree with, I agree with this, but I'm just painting a picture for you guys. Yeah, like he said, it's unfortunate for Miguel. We lost Clark Robson, who is that left-footed centre half that can play in the left half space, which Miguel likes to play in, and we're not in a good moment. He's only 19. We are trying to set a young player up for success, and we are not in a good moment to bring him out into the team, which is true. If you don't feel it's the right atmosphere for him right now and it's toxic and stuff, not necessarily toxic, but then again, I can't say that's not managing a young player. On the one hand, that could seem like excuses. You've got to think why, despite it sounding like all doom and gloom, why you won't opt for someone to get an opportunity. But the flip token of that could, as I said, he's going to be like a duck out of water. Are we trying to save him not to damage his confidence? I don't know, because football, no matter how much we try to do the kumbaya thing, it's got an element of ruthlessness about it. And I think all these young players are learning it really and truly. As you can see there, I couldn't bring him on against Ipswich, not at that time, not in this game. It would have been very, very difficult to come into the team in that moment. Very, very difficult. He's a young player finding his way in the team, so it's your job as a manager to set him up to have success. The team are playing with no rhythm and no control, and he's a player that needs rhythm and control. We didn't have that on Tuesday. So on one hand, maybe as a midfielder, I know he's 19, and you're not wrong, Gaffer. But could he go out and set their levels? Could he go out and do that? Could he have been that guy? I've got to also ask myself, to play devil's advocate, why, despite all of this, I think Miguel Azeez has got rhythm. Miguel Azeez has got control. Whether he can go out there and do it in League One or wherever Portsmouth are on a rainy day where, as he said, it's probably not the right time, it's probably wet, it's probably windy. You probably got 5 seconds before someone's going to wallop you in possession. Again, why can't he go out and there and do that? I understand it. I'm just saying, why not? Because he can't have been doing any worse. Again, I know he's 19, but fundamentally, whether you're 19 or 30 years of age, if you're in that 25-man squad, in anyone's squad, you need to be able to participate. So it leaves a lot of thought to be desired, people. But for now, I'm not going to say I trust what's going on, because he ain't played since, he ain't played in a minute, really and truly. He's played 59 minutes. I swear he hasn't played since August. I could be capping, people, but something just screams August. Since his move in August, he hasn't been involved any more times. So yeah, he's struggling, people. He's been named on the bench 5 times, and he's been yet to be called upon in each occasion against Rotherham and Ipswich, as this says, people. Hopefully he gets some first team football. Where that's concerned, this is another thing that could be looked at. Let's see if this is anything different, people. This is something else. This was in September. Sometimes we need to remember that Miguel Azeez is a young player who is seeing this level of football for the first time, which is true. At the moment, he's learning about the level and about himself and the best way that he can come in and have an impact on games. And obviously, you've got to be the games come thick and fast in League One, so he's got to be able to do it all the time and the fitness levels to be, being able to just simply get about. I think he's been training really, really well, and there's no doubt he's going to be a top player. Technically and athletically, you can see that he has great qualities, and he'll just be waiting for the next opportunity. And I'm sure when it comes, he'll be ready to take it. So where Miguel Azeez is concerned, people, hopefully, it gets better for him, really and truly. So hopefully he could do his thing. You have to ride through the tough times. This could make you or break you, but I'd look to recall in January. Let's do something else in that regards. Now, Tyreece John-Jules, again, he's not quite pulling up any trees at Blackpool, but I still believe in the young lad. There's been little flashes of brilliance. What we're chasing about 10 appearances or so now. He's still yet to score. And again, like with Miguel Azeez, it's never a failure. It's always a blessing. He's still doing the right things. He's still getting in the right positions. He's not hiding. He still wants the ball. He's still putting himself about. When you're doing the right things, it's a timing thing. It might not happen this week. It might not happen next week. It might not happen all season. But somewhere along the line, it's going to click. And I think it will click for Miguel Azeez. And in Tyreece John-Jules' case, I think it will click as well for him because he's still putting himself about. Would, again, think he will do a lot better in a more technical based team that play to his strengths and look beyond the fact that he's 6 foot plus. Personally, I did think he's one of these young players that would do better being in and around the first team. Again, still raw, still on the large part, inexperienced, despite having Lincoln, Doncaster and Hull now. But I think he's the closest thing we've got currently. Anyone that's involved in Arsenal close to first team level, like Lacazette. He can link up play, he can press, he can drop into that 10 position. He can do a lot of things. His game doesn't necessarily have to be correlated to goals. Of course, as a striker, you're going to live or die by that. Of course, as a striker, when you ain't scored for your new club, you're chasing it. But for me, it's not like he's doing the wrong things. He's still learning the tricks and trades of the game. As I said, with a lot of these people, I think people really underestimate just how hard it actually is to go from playing football and youth football to taking the step up. And as a striker, how many strikers are the finished articles in their only early 20s? So yeah, he got 5 minutes against Hull. He got 62 minutes against Nottingham Forest. I'm being a bit biased, but I think he should have probably got a penalty, Still yet to score, but as I said, I think it will happen for him, and he needs to keep his head up. He was on the bench against Blackburn and Reading, and he weren't in the team for the Preston game for whatever reason. So that's Ty. Matt Smith, again, when I'm watching him, it's a bit up and down. Like, normally when I think of him, I think of high intensity, high midfield, high pressing. Well, definitely nobody against Ipswich. I've got Ipswich twice there, people. Apologies. There's meant to be enough. I think it's just meant to have Cheltenham there. Yeah, they Cheltenham. He put himself about, but there's been times he just looks a bit too languid at times and whatnot. Against Ipswich, they lost 6-0. He wasn't the worst on the pitch, but everyone was terrible. He lost 6-0. It's not adapting. He got 22 minutes in their victory against MK Dons. In their 1-0 defeat against Gillingham, he got 14. Against Cheltenham, he came off the bench. I did feel him and his play and his team, they were a part of a chaos and that they're making the closing stages of the game harder than it needs to be. But apart from that, I think he looked good off the bench. He looked to relish coming on and playing significant minutes. He looked very comfortable on the ball as well. And yeah, it was a good game for the neutrals. Now, Harry Clark's been, I do think Harry Clark, I don't know, it does look like a systemic thing rather than an individual thing. But a lot of the goals I'm watching them concede at Ross County, sorry, man said Barkley, they're conceding it in calamitous fashion. And, the fullbacks and centre halves are too far apart, probably a byproduct on how they play. And a lot of those goals have been on the side of Ross County's right back, Harry Clark. But he's doing all right. I like him. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He did used to be a striker at Ipswich before joining Arsenal and slowly getting pushed further and further back. So when he scored a banger like he did against Livingston in the 3-2 defeat, in fact, was that a loss? I can't even remember, people. But in that 3-2 game, that five goal thriller, he did well. He got 90 minutes. I did think at times they could close down better communication with his defensive wingers to better mark attacking wingers could improve. In the 3-2 game against St Mirren, people, the first goal, I think, everybody, it was poor collective, himself included. Collectively, positioning, they were out of position. It was poor. I feel everyone was very weak on the second goal they conceded. I feel the third goal was between him and his centre back. He's gone to sleep, caught flat-footed. The communication isn't there. No one's picked up on the runner, caught ball watching. Technically grabbed an assist and he got 90 minutes. Osei Tutu's having a rather tough time where injuries are concerned, still nursing a hamstring problem. I haven't seen a game of what Muller's done on loan, but from what the information provides online, against Borussia Dortmund's reserves, he got 12 minutes, and in the game prior to that, he got 73. Now, Daniel Ballard is staking a claim without a doubt to be mentioned among, in my opinion, signings of the season in the Championship. He's showing his composure, his, wear heart on his sleeve, important blocks and stuff like that, good reading of the game. Again, I don't know if he will be involved in Arsenal's squad plans next season, but I do think he's one that will have offers permanently, and he's building on what he let off his positive loan spell at Blackpool and what probably would have been a better loan spell at Swindon if he never got injured. He's getting minutes under his belt. He's becoming important. He's becoming an established Championship name. He has to be one of the signings of the Championship this season with his loan spell at Millwall. Again, I do think there'll be offers for him. Against Barnsley, got 90 minutes. Again, typically of Daniel, composed, collective. This did the basics well once again. Good block to deny Woodrow as well. Quality passing once again. And like I said, candidate of signing of the season. Against Luton, again, always shows his good passing range. Always shows good passing range. I think that's old. I think he did show good passing range. I think the comment below is meant to be somewhere else. But yeah, they lost against Luton. They could have done a lot better. I don't even think they lost. I normally put the W's and L's. As you can see, there's a lot to keep up with. So apologies if I'm making honest mistakes. But yeah, in the Sheffield United game, there was drama throughout. I don't think he marked his man well enough throughout the game though. And at times he's getting touch tight and not marking. So it was a difficult game at the office. Mavropanos seems to be doing his thing and turning into something of a goal scorer in centre half. Obviously, he's bagged against Gladbach and he's bagged against Leverkusen, getting 90 minutes in the process. Union Berlin also did the same thing. 22-year-old Desai, who's on loan at League Two side Carlisle, people. After making his debut against Everton's under-23s, he got 90 minutes against Forest Green. Reiss Nelson's made his finally made his final debut. He got 12 minutes. He got 12 minutes off the bench for them, people. Again, I don't know if that's actually right there because I was in a rush when I was doing Reiss Nelson stuff. But yeah, he got 12 minutes. And, where Reiss Nelson's concerned, you just hope he can stay fit. Hopefully he's available to train and then build up his match fitness, build up playing games, show his importance to Feyenoord. And then for me, anytime we think of Arsenal loanees, make sure we're saying Reiss Nelson. It's a big season for him. Hopefully he can show something in that regards, people, really, and get his confidence back. I'm not watching Torreira because he's not really part of the plans here, but he's played, he's made 4 starts in his 11 overall appearances for his temporary side Florentina, and recently played in their victory against Caligari. Bellerin again seems to be loving life over there at Betis. Again, I don't know why I haven't got his notes up, people, but we can actually go on a website and actually find how many appearances he's been making. I know where the Europa League's concerned, Bellerin has been starved, the 26-year-old, and where Bellerin and these sort of players are concerned, people, you're hoping to God that they do enough to convince their teams, their temporary homes, to take them permanently, because they'll come back from the summer for Arsenal and have a year left on their deals, people. Where again we'll have to spend a good part of the summer speculating as to whether they're gone. So yeah, he's been holding bench for Betis. He technically was on the bench against Brentford. Obviously he's been ever present where La Liga is concerned. Really, he's only missed 1 game. He's got consistent 90 minutes. Ain't pulled up too many trees there, really. So yeah, that's that for Bellerin. And yeah, as I said, where the actual better players and players I clearly care about are concerned, there's going to be ups and downs, twists and turns. No conclusions are going to be drawn as they're all on the quest to, just try and become consistent footballers and better themselves and ultimately have a crack of potentially breaking through Arsenal's first team, people. But yeah, man, again, that's all I've got to say in relation to these players out on loan, playing their trade away from the club. Wishing them all the best. Please make sure you hit the like button, stay safe, comment any opinions, and I'll see you lot later, people.
There's always just that active red flag defending.
I think it's like